This build is a build I quite liked from the 2014 handbook, but it's been upgraded since the 2024 handbook. This is the Righteous Ranger. It's a Heavy Crossbow Cleric. Pretty unique build and pretty sick if I do say so myself, so let's get it. To start off this build, we're going to be going ASMR. ASMR is going to give us a bunch of different things, including more damage. It's going to be giving us dark vision. It's going to give us the ability to fly eventually. It does so much for us. It's also going to give us the light cantrip. And I quite like the light cantrip when you're an archer, because you can cast light on your arrow and then shoot it with your bow and get this long-ranged light that kind of travels really far and gives you a lot of flexibility of what you can do with it. As for background, we're going to be going my name, baby. We're going Sage. The Sage background is quite a good background in the 2024 handbook. What it's going to do is it's going to give us 2 different wizard cantrips and 1 level 1 wizard spell. 2 of those we really care about. As for our cantrip, we're going to be going True Strike. This is going to allow us to use our wisdom modifier to attack with the heavy crossbow. So basically we are completely replacing our cantrips with this new ability to do a better cantrip. It's going to have better range, better likelihood to hit more often than not, and better damage more often than not. And it fits the flavor of the War Domain Cleric quite good, which, spoiler alert, we're going to be a War Domain Cleric. As with that, I'm going to be taking Ray of Sickness as the first level spell. I think it has fantastic flavor that we are shooting basically a poisoned arrow. It's a great defensive option, great flavor, love it for this build. Now let's talk stats. Our primary is going to be Wisdom, our secondary is going to be Constitution, our tertiary is going to be Dexterity, needing at least 14 because we're going to be taking Medium Armor. Those are the big 3 saving throws, so our saving throws are naturally going to just be better than average. The other 3, you can dump whatever you want or invest in whatever you want. Level 1, we're going to take the Protector option. This is going to allow us to have the Heavy Crossbow as a weapon. Our main shtick is we're going to be casting True Strike from the background, and we're going to throw in some Guiding Bolts or some Ray of Sicknesses as our signature spells. Guiding Bolt is going to do extra damage and give our teammates an offensive benefit. Ray of Sickness is going to do less damage but still good damage and give our team a defensive benefit. So we have the flexibility. I really like that here. Both fit the flavor of the archer as well. When we shoot with our crossbow, it's going to be a Bolt of Sickness or it's going to be a Guiding Holy Bolt. Either way, fits really nice. Something else I really like is the bonus action Healing Word is really fantastic on an archery build. One, we're just in better position more often than not to use it, and we can also just get an action True Strike crossbow attack and then throw in a bonus action Healing Word, so we can still support while still being fairly aggressive. I like that combination. I'm also going to carry a mace on me for whenever we get into melee combat. One of the nice things about True Strike is it doesn't matter if it's going to be a dex weapon or a strength weapon, it's always going to use our, in this case, wisdom modifier. So we can take a strength weapon like the mace, which I like that flavor, and still wield it in melee combat. Of course, you can do it with other weapons, but mace is working for me. At any point throughout this build, starting at level 2, you can now go into Fighter. What Fighter is going to give you is basically an upgrade to your cantrips. So it's going to give us the archery fighting style, which is going to make our cantrip more likely to hit, being an attack. It's also going to give us weapon mastery, which is going to allow us to use the push feature with our crossbow, or the sap feature with the mace, or even the slow feature with a javelin used in melee combat. Those 2 both work well with Spirit Guardians once we hit level 5. The slow is going to make it hard for them to ever leave our Spirit Guardians, and the sap is going to make them hard to ever break our concentration. Both of those are just fine, but for me personally, I'm not going to be going into Fighter. The reason why is I want to get all of Cleric's features, and I want to get those spell levels as quick as possible. And I don't mind my cantrip being a little less powerful to make that happen. We don't rely on this cantrip completely, it's just a better cantrip than what clerics normally get. Normally clerics are working within 60 feet, well, we have a much higher range than that. Usually they have to focus on saving throws, well, we can attack AC, which sometimes is better, sometimes is worse, but we have the flexibility to choose. And that's why I really like this build, is we take out one of cleric's weaknesses, fairly weak cantrips, and we actually buff that area while still having everything else that makes Cleric amazing. So let's talk my level 2. Level 2 for me, we're going into Cleric, and I will be for the rest of this career, and we're going to be picking up Channel Divinity. We get 2 Channel Divinities. The first is Turn Undead, which is fantastic. The second is Divine Spark. This is going to target either an ally or an enemy and either heal or do some damage. Overall, I would rather just use a True Strike attack than use the damaging feature, so I'm going to only use this when we're out of spell slots and we really need to heal someone, or if there's undead. But our Channel Divinities get much better later, so that's a temporary problem that we're not going to be using it that often. Level 3, we go into War Domain, baby. I like War Domain. It's a lot of fun. The first thing we're going to get is Guided Strike. It's going to basically nearly guarantee that an attack hits. So all you do is you analyze your team and say who has the highest quality attack, and you make sure that attack hits when it misses. It might be you. Turns out a level 2 Guiding Bolt is a pretty dang good attack, but maybe you have a rogue, and that rogue, you really want them to get their sneak attack off. It's a really high quality attack. Or you want to make sure this smite goes off from your paladin. Whoever has the highest quality attack, give them this. We're also going to get War Priest. War Priest is going to allow us to make some bonus action attacks. Now, these bonus action attacks aren't going to be true strikes, so they're going to be relying on our mediocre dexterity. So I really don't rely on these. These are more for when we're not using our bonus action for anything else, we might as well see if we do a little bit of extra damage. So at the end of the day, the main thing I'm saying is that this is a cherry on top. Our build really doesn't rely on this at all, but every now and again, it's going to increase our damage by a little bit. We get Spiritual Weapon at this level just by being a War Priest. Spiritual Weapon is great synergy with this build. It's going to give us an action True Strike Wisdom attack, and then give us a bonus action Spiritual Weapon Wisdom attack. It's a great thing to concentrate on, and just increases our damage as an archer. Level 4, it's tempting to do something like Sharpshooter or Crossbow Expert, but at the end of the day, I want to bump Wisdom, and my choice for that is going to be Warcaster. Warcaster is going to make our concentration even harder to break, which is fan-freaking-tastic. We love a good concentration on a full caster. It's also going to allow us to cast spells as a reaction. Something like Inflict Wounds is going to do a lot more damage than kicking them in the shin would do, so it's quite nice for our reaction. Level 5, we get Seer Undead. This is just really good against undead. It makes our turn undead against undead freaking fantastic. We get Spirit Guardians. The most cracked cleric spell is still the most cracked cleric spell. Nothing's changed. So let's talk about it. We're an archer. We're not going to use it quite as well, right? It's going to be fantastic for anyone who wants to pressure us. So it's really nice because we can still be an archer, and then when they pressure us, all of a sudden we can change into, you know, a cleric with Spirit Guardians on, which is freaking terrifying. But I actually like this with the archer playstyle because it has an eminence of 15 feet. We can get close enough to use that eminence, then we shoot them in the face, then we run a couple feet backwards, and now if they pressure us on their turn, they go back into the Spirit Guardians and get it procced a second time. That's great synergy. And they move at half speed, so they might not be able to get close enough to hit us, so it still protects us just based off the movement it does. And not to mention that we're just fine if we choose to just put on a shield and grab a mace. True Strike works for using your mace just as well as it does your heavy crossbow. We have that flexibility now thanks to True Strike. Let's say we're going into a tight cave. That's not the best time to be using a heavy crossbow. Put it on your back, grab a mace and a shield, use Spirit Guardians, and all of a sudden you're the most dangerous thing in that freaking cave. Level 6, we get War God's Blessing, and this is an awesome channeled divinity. I love this channeled divinity. And it's going to allow us to cast Spirit Shield or Spiritual Weapon as a channel divinity and not a spell slot. This is fantastic because how the new rules work is if we don't use a spell slot, we can mix it with a spell. This is fantastic. It is absolutely incredible. And on top of it, it's not going to make us use concentration on spiritual weapons or spirit shield. We just get to use it for a minute. So we basically get to be like the old cleric and have spirit guardians and spiritual weapon up at the same time. Really, really deadly. Level 7. We're going to be taking blessed strikes personally. Now there's an argument for going the cantrip version. Toll the Dead is eventually going to outscale True Strike. So we could switch over to doing kind of bonus action, try and do a little bit of damage, and then use our Toll the Dead as an action to do a good chunk of damage. And that would be totally viable. You could definitely go that direction, but I am not going to be a War Domain cleric casting Toll the Dead. Hell no.
As if.
I'm going to definitely be taking Blessed Strikes. The most important thing for me is I am just going to be a Heavy Crossbow Cleric. I'm not casting Toll the Dead. It's a matter of principle. Also on level 7, we're going to get level 4 spells, but let's be honest, we're probably just going to be upcasting Spirit Guardians. Level 8, Wisdom Bump. It is the most important thing we could possibly do at this level. Wisdom is crucial for this build. All of our spells, all of our attacks, everything. It's just incredible. Level 9, we're going to bump our spells here again, and pretty often we're still going to just be upcasting Spirit Guardians, but there are some changes now. Steel Wind Strike is a sick spell. I just like casting Steel Wind Strike. It's fun, and so it's not bad either. And when you already have Spirit Guardians up, you can still Steel Wind Strike, not take concentration, just do a shit ton of damage, and that's a lot of fun. And we also get Summon Celestial, which is a fantastic spell whenever Spirit Guardians isn't. Spirit Guardians is great when we have compact enemies or tight spaces, and What about when the enemies are far apart and it's a lot of open space? Summon a goddamn archer who can fire arrows of vengeance 120 freaking feet. That's what we do. Now we're just totally rolling around with our angel, blasting people in the face, and we both have sick bows. Just doing hella damage. A lot of fun. Level 10, we get Divine Intervention. It's incredibly flexible. Any 5th level spell or lower once per long rest without any components. So I personally like this as our support package. That way we don't have to take Revivify or Greater Restoration. It might still be smart to mix them in, but we don't have to, because if there's that moment where we really need Greater Restoration, pop it off. Oh man, we really need Revivify now? Well, we can use it without having a diamond. It's just really efficient. Because it's so flexible, use it for whatever the crap you want. Just remember that it might be most efficient to use it with things that need components. This is one of the most well-rounded characters I've ever built, to be frank with you. Can it handle melee? Yes. Can it handle mid-range? Yes. Can it handle long range? Yes. Is it great at saves? Absolutely fantastic. Is it great at AC? Yeah. Does it have a solid amount of HP? Yeah. Is it a full freaking caster? Yeah. Can it still make good attacks? Yeah. This is a super well-rounded build. I really like this build because it's unique, it's powerful. I like this build because it's fun. What's not to like? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do all that fun YouTube crap. Give me the like, comment, blah, 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 and peace.